Hi everyone, my name is Ken Fickler. I'm the founder and CEO of Gaze, and today I want to talk to you about what do you do if you suspect an employee could be high at work. Now there's some critical next steps that you need to take if you suspect that this may be the case, so let's talk through those today. Dealing with an employee who appears to be under the influence of drugs or alcohol while on the job is a critical safety risk, and it's a really unfortunate decision that no manager wants to face. However, it's a reality that all employers must be prepared for, and thousands of employees go to work impaired every single day. If you find yourself in the position of needing to determine next steps in the moment, this video and the accompanying blog post will help. Ideally, though, you really should have a written process that you're following in these situations. Substance abuse and impairment in the workplace can lead to radically decreased productivity, huge safety risks, including workplace accidents or injuries, lower morale, liability issues, and even issues with your product. If you suspect that one of your employees is under the influence at work, it's crucial to take steps to address it promptly and properly. So here's what to do. First and foremost, you need to remove the employee from any safety-sensitive duties immediately. If an employee is in a safety-sensitive role and appears to be exhibiting signs of impairment, you have to take immediate action. Failure to do so could give the employee further time to cause a safety incident, which can be incredibly costly and lead to injuries or death. Removing them from operating any machinery, driving, performing other safety-sensitive job duties that could put themselves, coworkers, or others at risk is vital. You have to do this as the first step. Remove them to a private office or other place where you can await next steps. Next, you want to review your company's policies or procedures. Before taking any action, you have to thoroughly review your employee handbook, review your substance abuse policies and impairment response protocols, and these should clearly outline the proper procedures for handling a suspected impairment case, as well as your drug and alcohol testing rules, chain of custody requirements, disciplinary actions, employee rights, union considerations, and more. Ensure that you follow all the required steps to the letter to avoid potential legal issues down the road. These are incredibly litigious situations. You have to be very, very careful and follow everything to the letter. If you don't have an employee handbook or drug testing procedures to follow, it's best to contact a third-party drug testing administrator and your attorney. These situations can be very volatile and often result in litigation, so having an expert available and on your side is really helpful. Next, document all the concerning behaviors in detail. You want to make very detailed notes about the specific behaviors, their appearance, movement of the body, speech patterns, and anything else that can lead you to reasonably suspect the employee may be under the influence of drugs or alcohol while at work. Concrete examples and observations are critically important if the situation escalates and evidence is needed. You also want to make sure that you have everyone who may have observed these also write a report or co-sign a report, ensuring that you have multiple observers and witnesses. All of your supervisors should be trained on reasonable suspicion, and you need to make use of tools like a reasonable suspicion checklist or other formal memo to document your observations. And always, always have another staff member check your findings and observe the employee to corroborate your reasonable suspicion. Now next, it's typically best to have a confidential discussion with the employee about your concerns. You want to describe the exact behaviors of witness that are making you suspect that they could be possibly impaired, but avoid making direct accusations. You want to give the employee a respectful chance to respond and explain the situation from their perspective. You should be simply following the steps of your company policy, so this interview will not necessarily change what you do next, but it's an opportunity to give the employee space to confess to using impairing substances or otherwise explain the situation. After consulting your policies, you're going to want to work through the next steps of documenting reasonable suspicion. Once reasonable suspicion has been established, most companies require some sort of drug or alcohol testing if impairment is suspected on the job. Impairment detection technologies like Gaze can help determine if an employee is actively impaired in an objective and scientific and defensible way, while a traditional chemical drug test can only tell you if they've used some substance previously. Drug tests are only able to determine if someone has used drugs in the past, and that can be a pretty significant window for certain substances like cannabis, where your detection window can be a handful of weeks or even months. Adding impairment detection technology to your drug testing protocols can dramatically strengthen your substance abuse program and make it much more fair to employees. Whatever the next steps are for your drug and impairment testing, clearly explain the process and ensure that all employee rights are protected and respected. Temporary suspension of employment pending testing results is likely, and disciplinary actions such as termination could follow according to your written policies depending on the circumstances. Now, this next step is somewhat optional, but many employers are starting to add employee assistance programs, or EAPs. And in the case of a positive impairment or drug test, it's a nice step to have that available to refer an employee into your employee assistance program if you have one. The substance abuse resources in these programs provide employees with professional help for their substance use issues, and you may require the employee to complete an assessment and follow recommendations for additional drug testing before being cleared to return to work. Make it clear that getting help and addressing the issue is the ultimate goal of these programs, though, not penalizing the employee. Now, you want to maintain confidentiality and professionalism throughout this process, and obviously these can be very challenging situations, but you want to limit all discussions and details about the situation to only those personnel absolutely required to know based on your protocols and roles. You want to avoid hostility, judgment, or moralizing with the employee, and approach it as a personal issue requiring professional assistance, not a moral failure. Employers have a responsibility to maintain confidentiality in these situations, so be very careful about divulging any information to the rest of the employees. You want to thoroughly document every step of the process and every action that you've taken. So write down a detailed record of these actions, the reasons for your decisions, any evidence collected throughout the process, conversations you've had, and any responses from the employee. This documentation can serve to protect your company legally, and in particular, answer any questions should disputes arise later when memories can be foggy. Impairment detection technology is particularly useful for providing objective evidence of impairment. Humans have been shown to be deeply fallible at doing this, even with adequate training. The additional evidence of active impairment provided by this technology can be a substantial shield against accusations of retaliation or for those using legal cannabis as an example. Now, after the incident, as a final step, you want to work on resolving the incident. So take time to analyze if any additional measures may be needed, such as an updated supervisor training, drug testing policy changes, impairment and drug testing practices, or proactive use of impairment detection technologies. Employee education programs as well should be evaluated after they're utilized to make sure that they're actually serving the intended purpose. If the employee returns to work, closely monitor the employee's performance and conduct going forward to quickly identify any potential relapses or recurring issues. This is a real challenge for a lot of employers, and the liability issues with having an employee who could be using drugs in the workplace is very real. So also keep a close eye on the rest of the employees, as often these are not isolated incidents. Handling an employee who's suspected of being high at work requires thorough diligence, impartiality, and care. But maintaining a safe and productive work environment depends on it. Following defined procedures, prioritizing safety, offering assistance resources, considering your drug and impairment detection methods, and consistently enforcing policies can help resolve impairment issues and protect your company's employees' assets and reputation. If you need help crafting a workplace drug policy, or if you'd like to learn more about impairment detection technology and how it can be a real help in situations like these, please contact us. Our website is gaize.ai, G-A-I-Z-E.ai, or support@gaize.ai is our email. Thank you.